Howdy, howdy, Sue Devil here, and welcome to a quick test video where we're going to look at the additive effects of the Dowie units that can slow other units. Now, with the loss of the Tormentor sword for the Thane, it made a few people sad because that's really hard CC. It stops a unit from moving for 9 seconds, though it's not much. It can be pretty powerful. And the slows that are available on these characters have always been available, but I just wanted to take a look at it because the dwarves are not left without the means to actually slow things. Now, Grombrindle's slow, we actually know, and Grombrindle got a buff. He got an improvement to his melee defense in the last patch. He does magic. He's a great lord, a massive weapon strength, magic damage that bypasses physical resistance, and he has this flash bomb, and you can use it every 90 seconds. And I mean, I got a massive slow, minus 76% speed for 25 seconds. It is significantly more powerful than the Tormentor sword in my estimation. And I mean, it only costs 163, which I think is actually less than the Tormentor sword was. And you have, on top of all that, minus 27 melee defense to whatever is being flash bombed, and you can use it every 90 seconds, although he does have to be engaged in melee to charge it, but that's not hard for Grombrindle. But you can bring Grombrindle onto the field for 1800 gold with excellent stats, unbelievable charge bonus, and he does have always Grombrindle has no fear for the unbreakable map wide. And Foe Seeker, maybe if you want to give him a little extra speed, but I don't think it's needed. The Runex or Grombrindle is an interesting choice if you were going up against Greenskins or, factions with low leadership. This might be a very, very good piece of kit to bring along with you to get a leadership bomb. And he does have the Room Helm of Zufbar, which is if you were to bring in very low level troops like a bunch of dwarf warriors, they would fight to the death, most likely. But, for 1813 with just Flash Bomb, he's pretty damn good. Now the Runesmith, I've already seen the double Runesmith build being brought back into the early meta because the Rune of Wrath and Rune is so good. You get 4 uses of it. It does cause damage, but against a single combatant, a fast combatant, a lord, it does have that minus 48% speed, which is a pretty big deal. And you can always kit him out with some of his extra abilities, particularly this Hammer of Carrick Draws, which is minus 44 melee attack for another 152. Like at 832, he's pretty awesome. But even at 680, he's still useful because he does encourage other nearby units, and he can obviously use that Rune of Wrath and Ruin 4 times. So a very, very strong choice. I think the strongest, cheapest choice, because you can get 2 Runesmiths for less than Grombrindle, but Grombrindle is pretty amazing. Now, the Master Engineer, I haven't done a lot of testing on him, but he does have this ability called the Rune of Slowness, and it is constant, which is actually not too bad. If he's in the backline helping to defend your backline, everything that comes back there has a reduction to charge bonus and minus 12% speed, which may not seem like a lot, but we're going to see how this adds up, which is actually quite interesting. It is, 161, not too bad, but you can bring him on the field for 910. And now his shots are a lot more reliable. He hits what he was aiming at a lot more. He does have armor-piercing missile damage. And worst case scenario, he does have armor-piercing melee damage. But this Rune of Slowness may become more useful because the Master Engineer has also become more useful. And he actually now has this Prospector Spyglass, which is plus 18% accuracy to everything around him within 40 meters. Again, a definite... like a potentially something worthwhile if you have a heavy ranged build, and obviously you can bring this ballistics calibration. It's not constant, but it lasts for 57 seconds, which could make the difference completely at the beginning of a game when you're getting your artillery off. So, I mean, you can bring him onto the field for 1200, and he is really going to make a pretty massive difference for your artillery, and he can slow anything that comes down to the back line, but we're just going to take a look at him in the very base configuration where he's only 913. And then lastly, everyone knows about the Dragonback Slayers. I mean, a very good unit, have physical resistance, and they have 30% protection from missiles, but they have this power of the dragon back, which is when they hit something for 10 seconds, they have minus 36% speed. So I wanted to take a look at how some of these add up so we could just understand the effects, and I thought I'd do some quick testing against Kolek Suneater because he's actually pretty quick. He has 78 speed. There are faster lords, and we will test against one, but just to show you exactly how these things start to add up and how powerful they can be. And though they don't stop a unit dead in its tracks, they're pretty darn powerful. So here we'll look at the Master Engineer's aura just so you get an idea of how big it is. There it is. So basically, if he is defending artillery or anything else like that, like flyers would have an awful time trying to take off with that extra 12% speed reduction. Oh shit. I brought the Prospector Spyglass. Oh man. I've done just too much testing. Okay, we'll quickly go get the right piece of kit for him, which is the minus 12% speed. Because it is actually important, and it does add up. Okay, where is it? Right there, the Rune of Slowness. Okay, we'll start that battle. And it actually brings lots of other slows. It makes them effective enough to really tarp hit units. Okay, so we're going to bring him in here. And again, that slowing aura is right here. And what I'm going to do is we're going to start the battle. So Kolek is at 78 speed. Right there you can see. I'm going to cast Rune of Wrath and Rune on him. Now he's at 41 speed. So our units can almost catch him with just the Rune of Wrath and Rune. But now he's going to get into, now he's right in range of the Master Engineer and his speed has gone down to 32. Basically anyone can catch him at this point. We put the Slayers on him and he'll go from 32 speed and you'll see him buff down again. Come on, boys, hit him. Come on, boys. Go ahead. You can hit him now. Of course. He's at 48, 41. Okay, so the Rune of Wrath and Rune is done. But with just the Master Engineer and the Dragonback Slayer debuff, he is at 41 speed. Again, they can almost catch him. Now, Grombrindle, like anytime you press this button, it's basically an instant stop. So he's at 41 speed. And this is constant with the Master Engineer. And this is required on the hit with the Dragonback Slayers. But he's going to have a hard time moving around at 41 speed. We use Grombrindle and bang. He's at 8 speed. He's going nowhere at 8 speed, and that's going to last for 30 seconds. You know, it's pretty huge. So you put all these together, and whatever unit you are attacking is really going to feel it. So, but you can see, I mean, it's just pretty amazing. He's down to 8 speed. He's not going anywhere. He's breaking already. But, you know, okay, buff has gone off. He's at 41 speed. He's even have a hard time running away. You can see our Dragonback Slayers could almost keep up with him. So we'll end that battle, and I'm going to go grab a faster Lord. You know, Kolek's pretty fast, but basically, you think any Lord under 70 speed, you're going to be able to, with a combination of units, either Dragonback Slayers and the Master Engineer, or just the Runesmith, or just Grombrindle, you're going to bring those units down to catchable speed. So we'll go and let's go and get Tyrion real quick, because he is actually pretty quick, pretty fast rather. And where is he? Techless Tyrion. We put him on his horse, and you can see he's got 95 speed. Again, we'll just go start that battle and see what we can do. And I'll just put Grombrindle out front, so you can see the combination of Grombrindle's debuff and our Master Engineer's debuff. So we'll start that. We'll get it going. He has obviously 95 speed. Grombrindle's buff starts here. The Runesmith's buff is there. So now he's in the Runesmith buff. So you can see he's at 84 speed from 95. And if we get Grombrindle, it's like bang. And now he's at 12 speed. He's basically stopped. Like, we'll hit play. And he's going through his charge animation. But now he's going to be at 12 speed. Well, it's funny, he's still running around. Which is actually quite annoying. But, you know, the Dragonback Slayers are going to hit him. And he's going to be at 10 speed. You know, just kind of like that. Like, you can tarp hit units with the Dowie still, and you have options now with the Master Engineer's possibility. But the double Runesmith build, I think, is going to remain sort of the standard, I think. But you know, like, he's at 10 speed. Like, look how fast he's running away. He's gonna have a hard time getting away from anything when he's got all those debuffs on him. And you know, just to take a look at a few other units that you kind of see a lot, and here's where we get like a unit like the Warriors of Chaos. We see Chaos Poison Warhounds, and they are 95 speed, so you get that same sort of effect. You can at least slow them down and make it difficult for them to go through your back line. But even if you look at any of the like the Lizardmen Lords, you get Mazda Mundi on Zlok. He only starts with 50 speed. So I mean, let's take a look at what that double debuff does to Zlok. Let's see all these out, because you know, you just get him with your Slayers, and if your Master Engineer is around, he's basically going to stop, and your other dwarfs can now get him. So we'll get these guys start, and okay, so he's at 50 speed. Where's the Master Engineer's debuff? Now he's going to go down. There he is, 32 speed. Well, he's already got Cold-Blooded on, which is, God, I wish the AI wouldn't do this, but bang, he's now at 15 speed because the Dragonback Slayers and the Master Engineer are slowing him down, but he also does have Cold-Blooded on. But he's just not going to go anywhere. You know, there's a minimum speed that a unit can have. Like, he's now down to 5. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 5, but it doesn't ever seem to kind of get to 0. We have enough things on him to bring him to 0 speed. And he will get Flash Bomb in here, which is another 76% speed debuff. But his speed is still 5. It doesn't seem like we can ever bring it down below a certain amount. 0 melee attack, 0 melee defense with all the debuffs on him. But you can see this Master Engineer, that 12% speed debuff doesn't seem like a whole lot, but it actually can have an impact. And these 4 units, like, you know, when you look at them, they're still pretty darn good. Like, especially Grombrindle. Like, Grombrindle with those extra 2, he got an extra 2 melee defense, which is no small thing. So he has been buffed. He is a little bit more tanky, but he's a good lord. Like, you know, and he has, like, Grombrindle has no fear, map wide unbreakable for 32 seconds. I mean, that isn't nothing. He's a pretty good lord at 1813 with the amount of armor piercing damage and weapon damage he basically does, and his melee attack at 7. He's a melee expert, you know, very solid lord as it is, and this Flash Bomb is really strong. So I would say anyone who is really sad about seeing the Tormentor sword go, you know, you might find some really good play with Grombrindle. And he does have some other things you can get. Obviously, the Runesmith, I think, is going to be the most competitive hero. I don't think you're going to see the Thane. I just don't. Like, there are builds where the Thane might be useful, just because he can now bring this Ironbeard's Ring. So Ironbeard's Ring, minus plus 22% weakness to fire, isn't nothing, because you embed him with a group of Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, and they do 22 they do 22% more damage. But there are also a lot of other fire damage, like Iron Drakes, your blasting charges, your flame cannon. There are other sources of fire damage. Unfortunately, he has to hit something. Or no, it's constant. He doesn't have to hit anything. Well, that's actually then maybe not too bad. I think there are potential builds, because you got to think, giving a bunch of units an extra 22% damage is a pretty big deal. And these flame cannons are actually absolutely crushing. But he may be useful in some matchups, but I don't think you're really going to see him, because this Silver Horn of Vengeance is really poor. It is it is so bad that I never even analyzed it a number of times. So you're not going to really see the Dwarf Thane anymore, which is a little too bad. I wish they would actually also make a Thane with a two-hander so they have armor piercing option. But really, these units all have the slows, and they do combine pretty effectively, and I think the Master Engineer might find some play. I don't know if they're going to find some play in a competitive build, but you have two pieces of artillery with the Prospector's Glass and this ballistics calibration. He might be quite useful. It's hard to say, but I think you're going to see the Master Engineer in a few really interesting builds. But even if you brought this as your core, with Grombrindle as your leadership, your Runesmith with the Hammer of Karak Draws, your Dragonback Slayers, you have plenty of capability to slow things down, and you have a good Lord in that case, and you can build your army around that. So anyways, I hope you found that interesting. Love to hear comments, or maybe if you've tried different combination of the Dowie units that do have the slow, and you find a combination that you really like. I'd particularly love to hear in the comments from anyone who has used the Master Engineer now with this ballistics calibration, Prospector Spyglass, and a Rune of Slowness, or not, just to see how that's working. And of course, the Dragonback Slayers are still fantastic, even with the new Giant Slayers being so awesome. The Dragonback Slayers are still a solid pick. They're so much more tanky because they got a bunch more melee defense. I think they used to have 50 melee attack and 30 melee defense or something like that. Now it's 45 and 40. But they also have this physical resistance of 20%, which makes them like by far the tankiest Dowie Slayer. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the Dowie and their ability to slow. And I'm seeing this in the meta with the double Runesmith build. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing anyone playing Grombrindle? Have you played Grombrindle for specifically Flash Bomb lately? Despite Ungram being so awesome and there being other options, Grombrindle is a little tankier than he used to be, and this Flash Bomb is still amazing. Every 90 seconds you basically get 25 seconds of everything stopped, and having minus 27 melee defense was a pretty big deal. So I'd love to hear some of your comments about the slow combinations that the Dowie have, and what your thoughts are on the Thane losing his Tormentor sword, and if you think that's how big of a deal you think it is for the Dowie. I don't know why they took it away from him, but maybe they had some sort of idea behind that internally, or he was just being used too much, in just this configuration with the Tormentor sword, and they want to find another use for him. I wish they would have again taken away the Silver Horn of Vengeance and gave him something useful, and also gave us a Thane with a two-hander for armor piercing. I mean, that making a super tanky Thane and a Thane with a two-hander with armor piercing, that really would have been something, and giving him a, this fire weakness, but giving him another decent potential here actually could have done good. But I don't think you're really going to see him on the field anymore, just because he doesn't do armor piercing. He's not anti-large. I mean, the only use for the Thane was for the Tormentor sword. I think some people will find a way to use this, because 22% extra damage on any unit for any amount of time is a pretty big deal. So I think people will find a use for the Thane, but it won't be kind of competitive meta build, most likely, unless someone finds a build that's basically unbeatable with the Thane using that, and then what'll happen is he'll just lose that. But anyways, definitely love to hear from you in the comments, and looking forward to it. So with that said, I hope you found it interesting, and I will see you soon.